Okay, let's talk a little bit of St. Clair Bassmaster. I don't know if I'm going to get into MLF because I'll be honest with you, I just realized MLF was going on because something came across social media. I didn't know they were at Saginaw Bay. And it actually showed a buddy of mine, Marshall Hughes, with this drone shot over fishing this like little clump of grass. So I didn't know they were there. I knew the elites were going on, obviously, because I had to do the Bass Open Pros pick 'em. You know, at times I try to try to put a positive spin on things. I'm trying to. So like I was like, okay, let's not always be, not that I'm always negative. I'm never negative when it comes to fishing in any of my videos, except when I talk about things. I just wish some things, or like, I want to change some things of the way people view stuff in fishing, right? And then I'm also trying to I want to watch fishing and view fishing, not only for myself, but for others, and hope that they like it more. And maybe people do like it more. I'm not feeling great today, and I had a chance to watch today. Now, I was making some videos for my private group, and so I had Bassmaster on, and hopefully this whole Roku thing gets rid of the commercials, because I would turn it on and it was just like 5 minutes of commercials, and as soon as I got there, then they had to go to another commercial because it was time, whatever. And they were on, this is not the greatest place to go, St. Clair. Well, let's take this back. I already knew what St. Clair is going to be. I already knew that it's going to be sitting up there, no interaction with the anglers. You're just catching fish. You don't really know what's going on. It's hard to even tell what bait they're throwing. You got their back turned to them. Everyone would say, yeah, that's fishing. It's not. It's smallmouth fishing a little bit. I just remember there's been some times where they were smallmouth fishing, you know, or doing some different stuff. But when you go smallmouth fishing, it's all the same, right? That's why I can't watch it anymore, because it's just all the same. It's hours of it. There's no real interaction. There's no story. There's no story anymore. And I get it. Guys are up there. You got to realize too, there's so much to this. And the more I talk about it, the more I'm going to get off track and go down these roads. I don't think most of the fishermen care. I think they're just trying to win an event. And I get that. I have realized through fishing on YouTube that, you know, like, where is the camera? Not that I would do anything different, but like, hey, if I'm gonna land a fish, make it to where y'all can see it. Now, sometimes I haven't done that because it's like a giant, and I'm trying to win a tournament. But for the other part, I'm trying. I got a stationary camera. It's hard, right? But for the most part, like, I'm aware that there's a camera there, and try to make this entertaining. Now, why? One, why not? But I don't think most of those guys care. They're not, it's just different. And there's no story. And what do I mean by story? Here's my problem with fishing, and if fishing doesn't address this, I think it's going to go away. Now, I think YouTube and stuff like this, if people will watch the story, there's a lot to a story. But just the actual fishing, I think people want a quick fix. I see it on YouTube. I see it on everything, right? They don't want to listen to the story. They don't want to. They want to. Where'd you catch them? Let me go to that spot and let me go catch them. What bait is it, so I can tie on that bait and go catch them? Hey, just give me a waypoint. They don't. They really want to learn fishing? Yeah, some do. Some do. Those are the guys on my private channel. Those guys want to learn fishing, in my opinion, the right way. And I'm not saying other guys aren't, but like, there's a lot of people that want to learn it the right way and figure it out, and they take all that. And then there's guys that just want waypoints, right? And they just want the quick fix. They want that. But watching fishing, the story is important. And I'm explaining St. Clair. I've been to St. Clair once. It was my rookie year on the tour. I get up there, and as usual, I know nothing. I know nothing. I got a buddy with me who's going to be a coiner in the event. Not my coiner, just a coiner. We drive out there and I look at this circle of a lake. It's a pond. It's a pond the size of a state, right? And I just look out there and I don't even know where to go. And everyone's like, oh, you just get out there and, you drop shot and you do this, you do that. And I'm like, where? It's a big circle. There's 3 contour lines. So I didn't feel like driving 30, 40 miles across the lake or however far it is, just because why is that spot any better than where I'm at? So I kind of mess around and I see these water, I've told this story, but I see these water inlets coming out from where we're taken out of. There's I don't know if you call them creeks or whatever. And people are fishing around them. And I just kind of get out in the middle. And it's funny, I got out in the middle of Saginaw Bay because that's where everyone's at right now. But I didn't know Saginaw Bay. I knew nothing. And there's no one in Saginaw Bay. There's 0 people. Everyone got the memo except me. I didn't know. I just looked at it because it was close. I see no boats out in the, I see 0. So I idle around out there. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I just idle around until I see dots. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I do that, nothing. I eventually got tired of that. I found a 2-foot whatever. I was throwing a drop shot, doing all this for an hour or so. And I'm like, so am I supposed to do this for 3 days of practice? Okay. So I look out there and I'm like, well, what are all those people fishing those inlets for? The water's coming in and there's boats around them. Now, they're not bass boats. I'm like, what are they doing up there? So I just drive up there to them. I don't drive up in the middle of them. I get over here and I start throwing a swim bait up shallow. And I catch some white bass and I catch some smallmouth, 2-pounders. I was excited for 2-pounders. I didn't know. So I was like, okay. And so I was like, oh, I can catch fish finally maybe around this. So we're a couple hours in. That's what we're doing. So I was like, okay. So I went and hit 2 of those. And then I went where takeoff was because that was an inlet out of this canal of boat docks and everything else like that in there. And it was shallow. And I just started throwing my swim bait again, just a rate swimmer. And I'm kind of looking around. And next thing I know, I catch a good one, catch another one. Then I catch a 4-pounder. Then I found this ridge that goes out there. And so I start going down this ridge and everyone's drop shotting. Right? There's people on this ridge. Most of them I can tell aren't tournament guys. They're just, I don't know what, just guys out there. And man, I start catching them. And it was funny, everywhere I would catch 1 or 2 and I would just keep going. I don't know any different. So I'm just going and I'm going all over this flat way out into the lake. This ridge kind of deal. And every time I'd catch fish, I look behind me and all those guys that were drop shotting would come over there right where I caught fish. I could only catch 1 or 2, but they'd all and every time I catch one, they'd go like this. And I was just leaving a trail of boats wherever I caught fish. And I was laughing. I never saw them catch anything. So I get on out there and I eventually drop shot. I do all this stuff out there and that was my day 1. It's my day 1 of going, I caught some fish. I didn't feel very confident about anything. But that was my story, right, of day 1. And day 2 rolled out there, and I'm like, I'm gonna go do this the same thing, but I'm gonna go up to this islands up here where Huron, the water comes in, and I don't know what I'm gonna do out there. And I kind of stop out there and I fish around. I start catching some on the swim bait shallow. Nothing like anyone had ever said. Everyone was like, get out there and throw a drop shot and this and that. And I'm like, where? I still don't understand where I'm supposed to do that. So I'm throwing this swim bait and I'm catching everything's a fish over 3 pounds, 3.5 really. And I do all this and I'm starting to kind of piece it together. And I get up there in the reeds and I start throwing a black and blue swim jig in the reeds and I catch some 2-pound largemouth and pike and all kinds of stuff. And I go up the river and I catch a couple, but not really good. And I come back out, I see some on beds. And as I come back out of there, where it hits them, it comes out it comes out in a couple different places, but where the main river channel runs out into the lake from Lake Huron, I start catching some, and there's grass there, and it's different. There's current and all kind. Anyways, I start catching these smallmouth, and then I see this giant, massive flat that looks like 1,000 football fields. It's way bigger than 1,000 football fields. It's massive. It's like a 2 mile by 2 mile flat. It's huge, right? It's all like 4 foot of water or something. And I get out there and I start like fan casting around going, what am I doing out here? And I start catching some. And I kind of waypoint some stuff and I was like, am I catching too many? Do I need to cut the hook off? All this stuff. So I do all that. I go fish out deep off this ridge out there, and I kind of get bit out there, but I'm putting together. Nothing's great. The swim bait stuff was pretty good, but I'm doing all this stuff. And then next thing you know, as day 3 rolls around, I kind of do it some more. I figure out a little bit here. I'm trying like bits and pieces, but I'm like, I think this like shallow swim bait thing is going to be the deal for me. At the end of the day, we come back and there's a little ridge out there where I was catching them on a swim bait, and then it dropped off, and my buddy like started throwing a tube out there, and we caught a couple on a tube and some good ones. And I'm like, oh, okay, so cool, this is right next to my other spot. So it showed the story of me getting there with like zero knowledge of anything, and then figuring out how to catch fish in a way that definitely no one had showed me, told me anything. I didn't know anything. And all of a sudden day 1 rolls around, and I go do all that swim bait stuff up there shallow and never get a bite. None. I go out there where the 2 fish are, and I start catching some. I catch like 3. No, I thought I caught a couple, and then I felt pretty confident again. I'm like, I'm gonna go on that flat and just put my head down, because I think if I just put my head down for hours, I'll just pick up a couple. I was trying to catch a limit on a place that most people I don't think cared about trying to catch a limit. And I go through there and I catch one, and I catch another one, and I got a limit. And all of a sudden I catch a big one, and then all of a sudden I catch a 6-pounder. And I ended up bringing in like 20 something pounds, and it was pretty good. I was in like the top 25 or top 30 or something. And then day 2 rolled around, and I went out there where the 2 fish were, and no one caught anything. There was people all out there the day before. There's people out there. No one's catching anything. And I see this mayflies all in the water dead. And I see what looked like a perch come up, like a bluegill come up and eat them. And I was like, because they barely break water. And I throw my swim bait over there, and I caught smallmouth. And I'm like, are those smallmouth? It was dead calm out there, and you would just see just a brink in the water, just a little. That much of a little disturbance. They were big smallmouth, and I ended up figuring out how to catch all them. And I caught a limit on a swim bait. I tied on like our 2.75. It was super lightweight, super small. I had to put on an 8-pound test line. I didn't even have a spinning rod. I had it on just a casting rod. Second cast, I catch a 6 something. I ended up smashing on them that day and had like 22 or 23. Now I'm in the top 20 or top 10, whatever I'm in. And then day 3 rolls around, and I start putting more of it together, and I find these little humps on that flat that had these smallmouth, and I could see them up there, and they were eating these mayflies, and I caught them. And day 4 rolled around, and it was kind of good doing all that, but it wasn't great. And I ended up sight fishing. They weren't on beds. I just could see them, and up there by the current, and a drop shot. Like every day was a little bit different, and I changed with it, and I figured it out, and I made a top 10 on a lake I'd never been to, never been to a smallmouth lake in my life like that. And on the tour, and it catapulted me all the way up to make the Forest Wood Cut. So I made a giant payday and another $10,000, because you would automatically get $10,000 for going the Forest Wood Cut. Like that story of how to find them and catch them and everything might be interesting to some. Maybe it's not interesting to others at all. I don't know. But it was an awesome way to catch them. It was fun. It was different. And it was a story. Now, I've always said this. I've always said, you can't do that. It's not always the case. Like Bassmaster can't do that. They told a good story when they had a TV. When it was on TV, and it was an hour long. They told the story of the tournament, right? And I always said it was like, maybe it was day 3 and then day 4, but it was rarely day 1 and day 2. The story wasn't there. And they created this story about how they put it all together, which I think was good. There was nothing wrong with it. Why can't Bassmaster do it now? Why can't some of these fishermen do that? One, Let's just be honest. Some of them don't have the personality to. They don't know how to tell the story, or they don't care to. That's not what they're there for. They want no part of it. Some of them just like, I think they just want to fish and forget all the other stuff. I think that's part of the problem. And the other problem is this. If you live out there, I always say this, you're allowed to get information on the elites in the sense of YouTube, this, that. You can watch old footage out there. And if you saw some guy doing something and then you got on there and be like, how'd you figure this out? Well, I saw this one guy doing this, so I came out here and did it the next year. And everyone's going to sit there and go, they're not, like, that story's not that interesting. Like, the story's interesting because it's interesting, right? Like, you tell an interesting story because it's something that's unique and individualized. And I've done that with Alabama Waters and Deep Waters and Deep Blue and all, like, the series I've put together, I've showed how it's come together. People seem to like it. I'm not saying everyone does, but some people seem to like it. Like, you can see it evolve. I think when you get some of these tournaments and there's no evolution of any story, it's all the same. It all looks the same. Guys are going to be doing the same thing for 4 days, and every single fisherman you turn to looks the same. And all you see is the name on their back of their jersey. And that's all you see, and they're not really doing that much different. And there's no story there. Like, how'd you find these fish? What do you do? Or it's all kind of, I'll be honest with you, a lot of those guys, like, they're just telling you what sounds good. Because they can't tell you, like, truly how it happened. You can't sit there and go, well, I saw like 6 boats over here, so I drove over there and like kind of got on the outside of them and started fishing around and found these fish. Like, that's not an interesting story. That sounds like, oh, you didn't really figure anything out. You just, okay, gotcha. Not saying people did it. I'm not even calling anyone out. I'm saying it happens. No doubt it happens. But as viewers and as a way to, I'm not saying grow the sport, because that's not growing it. What we're watching is just not that entertaining. There's no story. There's nothing there. It's emptiness. I think that's what we're missing. And then you add in the coverage and the commercials and everything else like that. It's just, I just think at some point in time, there's nothing, it's going to be an empty fish catch. And I've learned through YouTube that empty fish catches are not what people want. They want the story. I agree with them. You want to follow along. You want to follow along the journey. I shouldn't even say this because, like, I don't want to, like, I wish somebody would come to me and be like, hey, I like how you do things on your videos of those series. Why don't we do this as a show? I would love to. And no one's come to me with that, though. I was hoping maybe one day somebody would and be like, hey, I got an idea. Let's use the way you do things. But so far, no luck. I don't know. Am I wrong? I could be wrong in all this. I always hate asking the question at the end of the video because maybe you didn't follow along for the whole video. But am I making sense? Does anyone else agree with me on this? And I don't have the right, I semi have the answer. I don't know if I have the answer for Bassmaster or MLF, but do y'all agree with that? Or do y'all have different views of what you think it should look like? Let me know.